Institute's next, um, our latest for the health of it. And again, we want to keep you aware of our bias. And our bias is the body is a battery, and you got to learn to keep the battery charged, and you've got to keep up the energy. There are a lot of ways to get to an end, but you have to have food. You have to have energy inside your body, or as I say, you're kind of building a house and you got the workers there, but you got to give them the tools and the raw materials to build your house. Energy does that, minerals do that, supplements do that. So does food. So today I have somebody special. This lady has written books, done seminars, and her one is the single single ingredient diet. I got it. It was there. Single ingredient diet. And today she's going to talk about sugar. Sugar is a real problem because when sugar hits your gut, your body does two things automatically. It's not you, it's just chemistry and biology. But when you get sugar, your body sends a little message, your gut sends a message to the brain, and the brain sends a message to the pancreas that says, produce insulin. You don't know that, you don't have control over it. The second thing is it raises your cortisol level because sugar is an indication that your body is getting up and getting ready to go. Now, this happens naturally about 3 o'clock in the morning when your body says, wake up, it's time to get up, let's get everything moving. It's supposed to die down during the day, but it doesn't. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All the reasons why sugar is bad for you. Okay, so Randy Rolfe is a lawyer, or was a lawyer, and then she decided that she would rather go out and try to help people physically, make their bodies function better. So why don't you just tell your story? That's the easiest way, and we get started from that.
Okay, Dr. Harvey, thank you so much. Really exciting to be on your podcast. Yeah, my story starts way back when. And I realized when I was in high school that there was wisdom that people weren't really paying attention to. My parents loved travel. They took me abroad every year, and I learned so much about other cultures. And my mom made us read about the cultures. And I realized there was wisdom all over the world, and our medical system was different from what they were doing in Indonesia or Tahiti or Mexico. And my dad was a physician specializing in infertility. And he told me that there would never be a lack of demand for his specialty because we're putting endocrine disruptors on our vegetables, that our pesticides are designed to interfere with the reproduction of the bugs. And he said, if we eat that stuff, it's going to affect us. And now we have an epidemic of infertility in the highly developed countries like the US. And so when I got married, I thought I should learn what I want to cook to stay healthy. And we plan to be married 100 years, and we're on 57 years now. And so I started doing research, and I was just heading for law school. I did well in school. I was a born researcher. So I thought I'll just read a few books and figure out what's really going to keep us healthy. Well, I now have a library of over 500 books on nutrition. I've taken innumerable courses. I'm certified in nutrition. I'm certified in sugar detox. And I first discovered that I was good at teaching it when I was practicing law. And I would tell people interesting stuff during lunch, and my legal colleagues started asking me more questions and more questions. And I really loved giving them the information. And I'll never forget one day, um, this fellow Jeff, he came in running into my office, got down on his knees and said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, Randy. If you hadn't have given me that advice about how to stay awake and alert when I was preparing for this course, this case, we would have lost." Because he was the workman. He had done all the research and had to be there handing the right documents to the chief lawyer. And I thought, wow, that's cool. Nobody's ever gotten down on their knees to thank me in law practice. So that was the beginning. And when we had our first couple of children, people started asking me, why is you don't have any problems with your kids? They're well behaved, they're happy, they're healthy, they don't get sick. What's going on? And I said, well, I've tried to keep them in as normal a environment as possible, feeding them normal food, real food, sending them outside to play. And my very first book came out in 1985 with a huge portion on how to feed your kids, because 90% of the problem is done if their bodies are being fed. But to back up a little, in 1971, after all my research, and luckily for me, my husband was listening, we decided to get rid of all the white stuff. We got rid of white flour, white sugar, Claire oils, white rice, anything that didn't have color with it. Because guess what? White means it's reflecting all the energy away. So colored things, colored foods, real foods, are absorbing certain vibrations, visual energy. So I knew it was really about energy, but we didn't expect any changes. We were both healthy and happy, and I just thought we were attacking 8 years onto the end of our life by eating right. But my husband had been asthmatic as a child, and he still would get tired if he was jogging, and he would often get winter colds. And that stopped within 2 months of getting rid of all the white stuff. And I noticed some other changes too. I didn't get sore in my muscles when I was jogging, and I didn't ever get that February lost my voice kind of cold that I used to get every year. So I knew there was this, if that could help us, it could help anybody. So that's when I started teaching and holding sessions and doing one-on-one counseling, all in person in those days. And then 7 or 8 years ago, I decided to do it online. And I've written 9 books now. And Dr. Harvey mentioned my most recent one, The Single Ingredient Diet, because I woke up one morning saying, is there one message I could give people that would change everything? And that's what came to me. Just eat foods that only have one ingredient. So don't buy the government advice. Read your ingredient lists and see what's in there. Because as a lawyer, I know that they put in 5 different kinds of sugar so that they can put it at the bottom of the ingredient list. If they said one kind of sugar, it'd be at the top. And same with the oils. Oh, we have 3 kinds of oils in here. Well, that would be the second thing. If they couldn't break it up into individual things. So being a lawyer really helped me grasp what was going on and how we're really being hoodwinked and gaslighted for profit, not for health. And so the main thing that I hear from new clients is I think I know what I should be eating, and I try to eat good protein and not too many baked goods, but I have a sweet tooth. So I try to explain to them the sweet tooth was invented by nature for us to be able to identify safe foods in the wild. Your berries are safe. Fresh meat is sweet. And other things, even vegetables, if they're prepared well, there's a nice sweet taste. If you cook your onions properly, there's a sweetness to it. But if you overcook stuff, or it's going bad, or it's getting moldy, or it's all dry, it's not sweet anymore. So this sweet tooth is there for a purpose. It's not a bad thing. Everybody has it. It's whether it's been hijacked and gaslighted by refined foods where they just take the sweetness out. It's like getting the sizzle without the steak. They give you the sweetness without all the things that nature's expecting, the fiber, the quality moisture, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes that come with sweetness in nature. So the simple thing is to just not get all those refined foods that the refined sugars and white flours that act like sugar, just the way Dr. Harvey said, goes into your body, and a whole bunch of things happen completely unconsciously. We're not even supposed to be aware of our digestion. We can just take the food in, and our body pulls the energy out of it and makes wonderful bones and tissues and organs and brain tissue and even hair and nails and whatever. So it's really uh, hard for people to appreciate how dangerous sugar is. And it's been compared to cocaine because the same parts of the brain light up when you take sugar. It's a refined white crystal. Like a lot of the drugs on the street that are bad, they're crystals, and the body is not designed to deal with purified stuff, even purified food components. So what happens when you take sugar into your body, if it's with an apple, all right, there's a whole sequence of digestion. It's worked on in the mouth where you chew it up. Then it's worked on in the stomach. And then the pancreas puts out a little insulin because it can tell there's some sugar coming. And then it goes through the small intestine, and then it goes through the large intestine, and the microbes work on it. And then it gradually goes through the intestinal lining, and the pancreas, and when it gets into the blood after it goes through the lining, the fiber stays there, and the microbes work on it, and the nutrients go to the liver and the blood, and so does the sugar. Now the sugar goes in gradually because it takes a while to break down the apple. So there's enough insulin by that time to gently push the sugar into the cells, and the cells linings, they feel the insulin and they open up to let the sugar in. And that's what normally happens. But if you take a tablespoon of sugar, like there are 4 tablespoons of sugar in a 12-ounce Coke, it goes straight in. It goes to the blood in less than 15 minutes. And that's not enough time for the body to react. And when it tries to react, you get a flood of insulin, you get a spike in your energy. Okay, now I'm ready. But in 2 hours or less, you're going to drop and you're going to want the sugar again because the brain goes, whoa, okay. But if you do that over and over and over again for years or decades, what happens is the cells say, no, we can't handle this up and down and up and down. And even the cells in your arteries can't handle it. They start getting cracks and leaks. And then you start getting patches that stick to the arteries. And that's actually the beginning of atherosclerosis and heart disease as well. Sugar is at the heart of heart disease as well as diabetes and obesity. So when the cells start closing up some of the receptors for insulin, then the brain says to the heart, push harder. So we get high blood pressure to force the nutrients into the cells, particularly the extra sugar when there's a spike. So then the blood sugar forms a higher level, and you still get the spikes if you're still taking that Coke or that pastry or that milkshake. So it's this all happens without you really knowing it until you start to feel fatigued and you don't sleep well and you have brain fog and you hurt yourself and it just doesn't really heal and your muscles start to hurt and your joints feel stiff. And you wonder, oh dear, I must be getting old. No, 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 no. It's not about aging. And we have all these myths in our culture that, oh, after 40, you start breaking down. I'm 78, nothing's broken down. So it's not aging, it's just decades of poor diet. And so the good news is you can reverse this because the body is always trying to heal. You just have to give it the materials to do that with. As Dr. Harvey said, you have your workers there, but if they don't deliver the materials, you won't get your house built. Same with your healing. You have to make sure all the things that your body needs are there for it to heal. So if you don't change your diet, you end up getting worse and worse and worse and falling into these chronic illnesses. But don't believe the myths that these things strike you uh, out of the blue. All those little symptoms that are taking you to the drugstore are symptoms that things are out of balance and you're not producing the energy you need to. And so once the liver says, well, I've just got to handle all this extra sugar, I don't have to pull things out of storage to make glucose for the brain, then we get the stored fat and we get the obesity epidemic. And meanwhile, the brain is saying, oh, where's the quick glucose? You're not sending me fat that's been broken down for the glucose. And the brain is so sensitive that it tells the heart and the system, the hormones, to keep the blood sugar as even as possible. So that's one of the first things I learned in my nutrition courses was the body protects the chemistry of the blood because all cells are dependent on it, including the brain. So the good news is that we can rebuild those little energy machines that are in each cell that need good quality, that they can't just do it on the sugar. They need the vitamins and the minerals and the all the special like serotonin is mostly produced in the gut. If our gut bacteria are not in balance, they're not going to produce some of the hormones that are essential for us to even relax to go to sleep or be able to think straight or pull up a memory. So that's the long version, but it's critical to understand how important the body is and how important diet is. And one of the biggest myths is that we just have to eat less and exercise more. And the food industry and the fitness industry, even a lot of the medical world and the government say, well, yeah, it's just a matter of willpower and you're just too lazy. But if you're eating sugar, you don't have the energy that makes you want to go take a walk. And you're addicted to get that next shock of sugar into your system. So just saying, well, I'm not going to eat sugar today, if you've still got that feedback loop going, you're going to give in as soon as you see it in the break room. So you said to go on, so I
No,
uh,
no, listen, this is really great because sugar is addictive and it lights up the same place in your brain that heroin, speed, sex, it's designed that way. Not originally, but over the years it's become like that. And the biggest thing is with sugar is cancer loves sugar. It loves it for all the reasons that Randy has said, the destructive reasons. And the thing is, when your blood doesn't have enough oxygen in it, and I've talked about that. When your blood doesn't have enough oxygen in it, you can't heal because oxygen is what heals you. And so the sugar makes your blood thick like molasses. That's why it doesn't go through the arteries. And lo and behold, it really backs up when it gets into the capillaries. And it gets into the interstitial space where all the good things happen. And when the insulin goes and knocks on the door of the cell, they say, we don't want any. Goes back into your blood and goes to the liver, and the liver says, well, I don't need this. Well, we'll just store it as fat. That's where in the problem comes. It's this whole metabolic side, and you develop a metabolic disease. It was interesting that you talked about your husband and the childhood asthma. One of the things I learned many, many years ago in shrink school was we have something called organ inferiority.
Mm.
And that is going to be a system in your body, because organs become systems. That's a system in your body that doesn't function well. For me, it was my gut. For your husband, it was asthma. And so when your body builds up this stress, something has to give. And that's what gives in your husband. With me, I can lose weight unless I have a lot of stress. If I have a lot of stress, man, I can't lose weight. But that's my gut. That's the way my gut works. Everybody has it. Some people get headaches. Now, that's a difficult thing to diagnose because there's 300 causes for headaches. But typically, the person's going to tell you what the cause is. It can be hormones. Again, that's affected by diet. So you really get down to your diet. If you control your diet, you're not going to gain a lot of, or you're not going to suffer from a lot of the problems that a bad diet causes. And you know what? You don't have to do it all at one time. Now, the other thing is, um, it, you got to overcome the loop. I'm glad you put that in. That was good. You want to overcome the loop. And to do that, you need to be able to break the cycle. And as I've said, your body is a battery. You need to put the nutrients in your body to make the battery work. Because ultimately we die because we don't produce enough energy. That's what happens. Maybe we should see if people have access.
I
Yes.
just want to make one comment, a little more about the cancer cells that we try to pretend that cancer just comes from some toxin on the outside or just appears when often it's caused by these imbalances that you've described. But the unique thing about cancer is that it can't do what it's supposed to do. It doesn't have enough energy for a liver cell to be a liver cell, or a lung cell to be a lung cell, or a brain cell to be a brain cell, because it isn't getting, and it's not normal because it doesn't have enough energy. So it just burns sugar. And the one thing a cell can do, and this is life, it can reproduce itself. So cancer cells, the one thing they can do is reproduce themselves. So that's why they grow. And if our body isn't healthy enough to recognize that this cell has basically gone berserk, the immune system can't destroy it. But our healthy cells, our healthy immune system is always searching for these little cells that have gone nuts and aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and they just put them out. But if your immune system is weak because your other systems are weak, because you're not eating properly, cancer can grow. And many reasons why one of the reasons why we have cancer getting at younger and younger people is they've been eating poorer and poorer diets from earlier and earlier ages. It takes really years for a cancer to actually take hold where we can see it. We are better at seeing it now with our amazing medical devices, but it for it to escape the immune system over and over again so that it becomes a real problem takes a while. And usually you can reverse it if you start changing the energy matrix of your body by good nutrition, sunlight, water, air. That's where we get our energy, not from sugar.
No. And here's the thing. Probably 80% of the people out there are dehydrated.
Yes.
I would say that 80% of the people out there don't have enough magnesium. Magnesium enters into so many
Yes.
uh, uh, chemical reactions in your body. And you have to be able to take that energy, that those, you have to be able to add those things. Again, those are part of the raw materials. And you have to have the raw materials to make um, your body. Let me, I say it this way. You have 57 trillion or so cells in your body, give or take. How they count them, I have no idea, but 57 trillion. My 57 trillion are different than your 57 trillion. My 57 trillion react to different things than your 57 trillion do. That's why there isn't one thing out there that's going to fix everybody except good food. That is going to fix you. And if you look at places that live a long time, what makes them live a long time? Healthy food, sunlight, healthy air, fresh water. Now, how do you fix that? Well, I used to say if you were drinking or if you were drinking purified water and eating organic food and breathing filtered air, you'd be okay. Well, that's really not true anymore. Uh, there isn't any place you can go in our country that you're going to be okay. But there are things you can do to begin to get healthy, like not drink water out of plastic bottles. Um, you can get a filtration system, water filtration system for your house. It's a start. Buy an organic food, but you still have to wash it because it still has the pesticides or some. It may not have a lot of pesticides, but I guarantee you it has glyphosate because when it rains glyphosate. So you can begin to do those things, and it's those little steps that are going to put you on the way to moving. Now, the other thing is your body works on minerals and vitamins. Randy talked about some of what goes on inside the gut. Well, your gut has to have B vitamins. Your body doesn't make those. But you may have a problem that your liver's not going to um, work with them unless you have a special kind of vitamin B, methylate. Um, you need to have certain B vitamins, or you have certain minerals. And you've got to start with magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sodium. Your body will not work without those. It will not work. Then you need little trace minerals. And you need other minerals that enter into those 57 trillion reactions because all of those muscles are out there doing something. They're working. And somewhere you're going to find out that when you have all of them working for your body, you're going to be healthy and you're going to look like us. I'm 80. So why don't we do this? Why don't we let people in and let them light up and ask questions?
Great. I love questions. And I want to say magnesium is the first mineral that you lose under stress. So if you're feeling stressed, take more
Yes.
and eat a banana and have more vegetables.
I give people the other thing is I use iron. And we're really low on iron, and you're not going to be able to get it from the food. Most of the minerals are depleted. And I think it was interesting that your father came up with that because my God, that is what we're seeing now.
Mhm.
I saw that 10 years ago. Um, no, 10, in 1992 or 93, we had a case that people were getting poisoned from the water in Vermont. When I started looking, frogs were being born with three legs and three eyes. That's where you begin to see this first. You begin to see it in the animals.
Mhm.
They're the ones that are closest to the ground, and they eat from the ground. So our atmosphere is actually being um, hijacked by chemicals that we really don't have any control over. So we can ask the people, they can come online. Um, you start your video and we will take questions. Dr. Grant,
Hi, Dr. Harvey. Great presentation, Randy. This is amazing.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation, Dr. Harvey. I agree with 100% is what is said. Actually, sugar not just only addictive, it causes cancer, it causes gut dysbiosis, it causes gut problems, but it affects every organ in the body, including the brain. But one thing it was not mentioned, I'm sure Randy and Dr. Harvey knows, sugar calcify the pineal gland and affect your sleep, affect your stress. It will actually reduce your endorphins, which will reduce your serotonin, reduce your GABA, acetylcholine. I've done extensive research with Dr. Harvey on this, and not only it will cause diabetes that we're doing currently research on, particularly in Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana, because sugar is the main cause for diabetes, which is diabetes plus obesity, for those of you who do not know what diabetes is. And sugar is highly, highly poisonous for the body. Consuming soda, consuming all of the sugary treats, consuming cereal with all of the stuff that's in it. This is supposed to be warning on those food label and soft drink label that it can cause problem for kids, teenagers, adults, and so on. In fact, I can add this. Sugar, it will cause you to die early. Like if you look at Randy right now at 78, nobody would ever guess. She's she looks 58, she looks under 58. And she looks at 78 because her skin is healthy. She does not touch any sugar. By the way, Dr. Harvey is over 100. He looks very healthy at 68. He's in amazing health because he does not eat sugar. I'm gonna be 76 next Tuesday. I know I look younger, thank you. But when I was 18, my mom died from diabetes and obesity. My dad died in his 60s. And I never see my grandparents who died from using excess sugar. Anyway, I don't want to take over the whole podcast, but I'll tell you, it's not your genes, it is not your DNA that determine your aging. Dr. Bruce Lipton from California said, how you express your genes and how you do your lifestyle and how you detect the root cause of your problem, which is mostly comes from sugar. So if you're interested in knowing all of this, I would like to invite Dr. Harvey and Randy to be our guest podcast next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And it's going to be Eastern, of course, which is 5 p.m. Central, and so on. So the website, all of the information is on the chat there, academyofwellness.com. So please join us. We're expecting over 100 people next Tuesday because it's my birthday and everybody comes. We'll invite 10 people. So that's my 76th birthday. The best gift you can ever give me, Two things. Number one is $1 million sent to my account. Thank you very much. But number two, which is most important, is you invite 10 people to our next podcast next Tuesday. Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Randy, great presentation. Keep up the great work that you're doing. You're going to be living till age 131. I guarantee you that because right now you look so healthy at 78. And I was kidding about Dr. Harvey 100. It was a joke. Dr. Harvey is going to live till age also 131. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Anybody else out there? We have 12 people. Somebody should have some questions.
I have a question, Randy. Actually, not a question, a statement. What I'd like to say as an educator is over the years, one of the prime things we recommended to parents who had children that were expressing significant behavior problems was to take a look and do a food diary and look at the amount of sugar they were eating. And very often, just cutting back, not even cutting out totally, but just cutting back on the amount of sugar a child is eating significantly reduced some of the behavior problems they were experiencing. And I think that would be sort of a motivator for families to think about the amount of sugar they're putting on the table and allowing their kids to have.
Thank you.
Right?
That's so true. I counseled families, well, especially when my kids were little and we were homeschooling, and I would have the clients come in while they were playing around and doing their homework. And it was very clear. And I went to a bunch of doctors presented at Rutgers University in 1982 and said that they could not get their papers published. They were all MDs and everything, but that they had proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that sugar caused the hyperactivity that teachers were reporting and parents were reporting. And then they talked about the Feingold diet, which was to get rid of the colorings. And we're finally getting rid of some colorings, right? But they asked the audience, which was half parents, do you know that the coloring is causing the problems? And they said, absolutely. Half the parents, half the audience stood up and said, yes, it's very obvious. And I noticed that my grandchildren, after Easter, they got an extra day. The teachers don't want to deal with them after
Yes.
the Easter eggs. Not the eggs. Eggs are fine, but the Easter candies, forget it.
Oh, and
So
Halloween's
very
time
real.
in
Yeah,
schools. Yeah.
any of those times. And
Yep.
so many of the problems we're having in schools, and teachers are retiring because they can't take it, because our kids are not getting the energy, and like Dr. Harvey said and Dr. Grant, that that they need to build their bodies. I mean,
Yep.
they're still growing for another, it takes 20 years to develop everything, and you keep growing and keep healing.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I love talking to parents, because they usually want to get their kids on a good path. And you say, I have to say, you have to set an example, because people learn by imitation, not by what you
Right.
tell them, but
And
by imitation.
and not only that, your brain remains irritated. That's what causes hyperactivity. It was
Sure.
causes distress.
Sure.
You have an irritated brain. Let me share one story with you. There was a man, I was on a podcast with him, maybe 2 months ago, and he would take in autistic kids. And these kids would be, he had a group home, and he would work with these kids. And every single one of them, because I started talking about diet and food and what you eat. And he said, these kids came in and all of them were on high fructose corn syrup snacks. And that's all they ate. And what was interesting, they ate them and sat in front of the TV. Oh, okay. They didn't even get the benefit of the boost. And when he took these kids off of these foods, after 3 months or so, there was just a difference in them. And some of these kids now who were severely autistic, they went to college, went out and got jobs. You are what you eat. And diet makes a big difference in the uh, in how you behave, because it's the way your gut processes the food. And you got to have all of it. It's like you're going to build a house, so you got the workers over here. That's the stuff in your gut. But you got to give them the right raw materials to work with to build your gut. Sometimes you got to take a prebiotic. Sometimes you got to take a postbiotic because you don't have enough fermentation. So when you get to the large intestine, you begin to have problems. Ooh, that's where GI problems come in. That's where you get Crohn's disease and diverticulitis and a bunch of other things. That what happens? You go to your doctor and he gives you more chemicals instead of giving you what's needed to keep your large intestine working. It's all connected. And here's the thing: you talk about the sugar. Your gut actually starts at your nose. And if you don't believe me, go out and smell fried chicken. And man, your mouth waters and you can taste it. And what's fried chicken made with? White flour. So you can see that when that enters into your gut, it passes, like you said, right out. What GLP-1 does is it slows down the absorption of the food in your gut. And you can eat foods that increase GLP-1. Right, Dr. Grant?
And you,
So, yeah,
Absolutely correct, Dr. Harvey. And Ozempic, GLP-1 like Genovia, it's not the answer for obesity. It has never been the answer for obesity. It's all about healthy lifestyle and detecting the red flags that you and I are doing. And Randy, it's sugar is it's a huge problem we have in our society. It's not just sugar. It's the bread, white bread, and it's the white rice. It's everything that turns into sugar that would affect our brain, affect our gut, as Dr. Harvey and Randy mentioned. But the solution is not Ozempic. Why everybody rushing in to get Ozempic in every clinic, get this injection of Ozempic? As soon as they lose the weight in 3 months, they're gonna gain it back again. But if you listen to Dr. Harvey and Randy right now, Ozempic is not the answer. And I'm a toxicologist. If you look at the side effect of Ozempic and GLP-1, you will never get Ozempic or any other GLP-1 because the side effect exceeds the benefits. You don't have to be a toxicologist, you just have to have common sense. But Dr. Harvey and Randy will agree with me that today common sense is so uncommon. That's why we have everybody rushing to get all of this injection of Ozempic and GLP-1 Genovia. And this would be, you're going to melt the fat. Oh, yeah. And what happened when you stop it? You're going to regain all of the weight until you change your lifestyle and red flags. That's
and
why we're going to be talking about this next week.
and what you lose in terms is a lot of it's muscle.
yeah, they have
And when it comes back, it's fat.
that's
And
right.
and it clogs up your brain. Listen, folks, I see this stuff coming across because I get the medical journals and all the other. It ain't all that it's cracked up to be. But what we want in our society is we want it now, we want it quick, and we want it easy. And we've been sold that since the 60s.
Mhm.
Think when TV dinners came around. And it is not by accident that we have an epidemic of diabetes. Next time I do this, I'm going to put my slide up. I have a slide that shows in the 60s, at the end of the 60s, we started with fast food. By the end of the 70s, fast food became a staple. Everybody had it. And then what happened in the 80s? We king-sized everything. We supersized it. And we kept eating more and more and more. And then in the 90s, we had an epidemic of diabetes. Is that a coincidence? And what happened in the 2010s? Take a look around and you'll see all of these dialysis centers that are open. Now, I said to my doctor, I've got diabetes. My last A1C was 5.8. I don't take that anymore. I don't take the insulin. I don't take anything. Okay. And I said, insulin is a two-edged sword. It can help you control your blood sugar, but it's going to ruin your kidneys. And he says, well, either the blood sugar either this insulin will or the disease will. I didn't have an answer for that. The idea is to stop the process. In anything, you got to stop the process, and you have to understand the process. And understanding it is the key. Okay, does somebody else have a question? James, Cheryl, Giovanna?
I'd like to make one comment that we've kind of just discovered the importance of our microbes in the lower gut in Western medicine, but they've known it in Asian medicine for a long, long time. But what we're neglecting is that our gut bacteria need stuff to be pre-digested. We need to chew. We need to mix with our saliva. And the GLP stops and the activity of the stomach. So the stomach doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And it's full of enzymes to break things down so they're ready for all these wonderful microbes. And that's one of the reasons why we're getting the small intestine infections, because we're not digesting the food first, and the bacteria are working their way back up the small intestine. It's a disaster. So if you're slowing down your stomach, what do you do to get it working again? Even if you realize you've got to quit the GLP at one, you're going to need new enzymes. You're going to need really high quality supplements and food to even get things working again. And I was talking to a lady and she said, oh, I know I have to be on GLP-1 the rest of my life to keep my weight down. And I'm like, you're going to be sorry. I'm sorry, but you're going to be sorry. It will catch up with you.
And it won't take long.
No.
It won't take long because they're finding that out now.
Mm-hmm.
That people are having reactions 5-6 months down the road.
And sometimes they can't get the stomach to reactivate and behave, so that they have to do other things to try to minimize the effects on the digestive system lower down. It's a disaster.
It is. And then we're seeing a magnificent we're seeing an increase in colorectal cancer among young people.
Young people.
Why is that? What do they eat?
It's that soup, that chemical soup, and the refined sugars.
The other thing is, folks, and this is the bottom line, stress affects all of this. And the physicians have no answer for stress. They don't have a pill. Because if they had a pill, you would get it. And I can tell you that most of the psychiatric medications don't work. And they cause long-term problems in your brain and in the rest of your body. Because I've seen people on these things. They're not good. And even the newer psychiatrists are saying that now. The young doctors coming out are beginning to realize what's happening. But you still run across, and I ran across a guy a couple of days ago. I ended up getting really upset. because I thought he was really moving someplace in terms of what he was identifying. And then you go, we got these drugs for all of this. There are drugs for all of it. Absolutely. And you know what they do? They just cause more problems. So that when you end up dealing in your 60s or your 70s, you're taking something they call polypharmacy.
Mhm.
And if you go to ask the guy, why are you taking it? I don't know. The doctor gave it to me. Well, for what? I don't remember. But they keep getting them. And that is their paycheck. That's the thing that puts kids through college, buys their second homes. And I'm not saying that, well, I am saying it because they should know better, but they can't. They can't because of the way the medical profession is policed. These guys have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in their education. And if they if they vary from that, they're going to get in trouble. I remember when COVID came around, there was a doctor down in Houston. She's still in jail because she was telling people to take ivermectin. Now we find out that ivermectin worked. Why did it work? It's an antipyretic. It stops fevers. And the people who died were really the ones who were really, really sick. Most of them had diabetes. What did that mean? It means their gut didn't work. But when you go to the doctor, they were treating the symptoms. So they put you on a respirator or a ventilator. And that was it. If you got put on a ventilator, I remember my wife telling me, I don't want to be on a ventilator if I get sick. I said, okay, but I'll make sure you don't get sick. And it's little things that you do when you eat food. You have to know what to eat, but you have to know when to eat, at what times to eat, and in what order. And so there's a whole thing that I'm into now, trying to teach people what to eat and when to eat it. Here's an example. I can go out and I can have ice cream. I'm but I usually have it at the end of the meal after I've had a big salad and a lot of protein. Why? Because that helps slow it down. Anything you can do to slow the food down through your gut is going to limit those peaks that you were talking about, Randy, with the blood sugar.
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's how you control A1C.
Yeah.
And if you don't control those peaks, if you don't control them, your A1C is going to go up and you keep getting higher and higher. And it could be that you're a diabetic. But you know what? You could come up with heart disease. You could come up with gastrointestinal problems because that's what the increased blood sugar does. Your body only has two ways of fixing these things. It can either send water or it can send fire. When the water doesn't work, it sends the fire. Those are called cytokines.
Yeah.
And when you don't produce the right kinds of things like calcium, the calcium's going to come from your bones. So why do you think you end up with osteoporosis, porosis and osteopenia? Because your body's stealing it. So when these people tell you to take a one a day vitamin, no, no, no. I don't care if it's Centrum Silver. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. One of the things that I did all through COVID is I took a two capsules at bedtime that had 600 milligrams of magnesium glycinate in it. It had B6 and it had zinc. Those are for your immune system.
Yeah.
You know, we are a chemical factory. God created us as that. And you got to put the chemicals in. It's just really that simple. And here's the thing. You don't want to go to the vitamin store and buy vitamins because 95% of them at the vitamin store and at the supermarket don't work. They end up causing more problems than they fix because they go in and the way they're digested is it starts eating away at this single lining in your gut. You have a single lining in your gut to make it easy for the nutrients to come in and out. But if you get a hole torn in that, that's how you get leaky bowel, and then you get the poop or the bad stuff going into your bloodstream. That's how you get sick. And it's going to go to the weakest organ. That's the organ inferiority, whatever that is for you. So people end up with pancreatic cancer. People end up with stage 3 kidney disease. And that's where it comes from. It comes from those spikes in blood sugar that you're not a diabetic, but Dr. Grant and I, we see when we do the AO scan, we see that we have people that have a body that reacts to diabetes, reacts as if it were a diabetic, but they're not a diabetic. But you see little things come up that, oh, well, that shouldn't be there. Oh, what's this doing? And I would say, well, you're not a diabetic, are you? Well, no, no. We look down a little bit. No, the A1C is normal. It's the other things in your body that are telling you you've got a problem. Diabetes is just something that's easy because you know you got it when you're peeing and drinking water at the same time. You're diabetic. There are no questions. You're standing there peeing and drinking the water. That's when you're a diabetic. But we can fix that. We can fix it. Anybody else have any questions?
I would recommend Dr. Harvey, if somebody have any issues, they should also take advantage of the virtual voice scan Dr. Harvey and I are doing, because that will reveal 350 conditions and pages of complete accurate reports, including complete MRI. And this scan, we do not charge for it. It's complimentary. 30 minutes of your time will give you 350 pages of the accurate state of health. Randy did it and she found it to be very an eye-opener. So do it and join us. Book it with Dr. Harvey. 30 minutes of your time will open your eyes and it'll help you detect diabetes, obesity, and all of the other challenges. So take advantage of that. The best 30 minutes you can invest in your life is doing the virtual voice scan. Thank you.
BB.
I'd like to add that I've put in the chat how to reach me. You can go to that link and sign up for a free consultation, and I can tell you about my signature program. And especially for the people on this show, I will give you a very special price, but it has to be before the end of the month, before the end of April 30th, for that special Dr. Harvey price for my signature 30 days to free yourself of sugar.
We used to call that a show special.
Well, that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So BB, ask your question, dear.
Yes, thank you so much for all this. And the way I understand what you're all talking about is that you regulate your inflammation by doing all these things. And I'm 100% on board with all of it, and I appreciate the education. What I've also seen is that getting into omega-6 3 balance is another thing that really helps regulate inflammation. And I was just wondering if you had any experience with that, Dr. Randy.
Oh, for sure. As I mentioned earlier, we got rid of all the seed oils in 1971 when we got rid of the flour and the sugar.
Right.
And that's one of the things that causes the leaky gut and hurts the arteries and makes them sticky. Can make all the difference. The skin gets better, the brain gets better if you cut out those highly, highly, highly refined oils. And if you read what they do to make that oil taste palatable or
Mhm.
have no taste, you would never want to do it. It's talk about chem labs. They
Right.
do about 17 different things to make this profitable for them.
Right.
So yeah,
And the
absolutely.
stuff that's left over, they put in your gas tank.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, the
Uh,
bio.
Biofuels, yes. I'll tell you something that I found, and I do this. I use chia seeds, which is another way of increasing um, a bunch of things that are good for your gut. And I do an ounce of those a day. It makes a big difference.
Yes,
Uh,
it's good.
and then why don't you, Randy? Why don't you? We got a few minutes left. Why don't you talk about the colors? You were talking when we were talking about colors.
Yes, well, yes, food should be colorful. And I remember when my 3-year-old, she wouldn't eat her vegetables, and she was just learning the clock. And I said, well, I put a different vegetable at all 12 points, and we ate around the clock. She never had vegetables a problem again. But the organic is what you've got to do, because I've had spreads of food where we had the commercial stuff over here from the regular grocery store and the organic stuff over here. And the kids would taste them both. And I kept hearing the kids saying, hey, Mom, why don't our vegetables taste like these here? Kids know they don't eat their vegetables because it doesn't taste good. Like I said, their sweet tooth is to tell you what's good. The commercial foods have very little flavor at all. So you want the red, the purple, the orange, the green, the brown, the rich blacks from the blackberries. You need all those colors. And for us, that's just the visual spectrum. You need the sunlight. You need natural ultraviolet in the morning, and you need the red light in the evening. The color tells us what we are actually consuming. So um, make things colorful. Make your salad colorful. If it doesn't have any red or orange, get a yellow pepper. Or but I don't advise putting a lot of fruits in when you're eating vegetables. It's better not to mix a whole lot of sweetness with your veggies. Let the body work on the veggies and use the fruits judiciously.
And if we go back and we look at the way we were back in the old days in the 1880s and 90s, and why people were healthier then, it wasn't because of the lifestyle. It was because of the food. And you were
Yes,
talking about being out in the sun. That's the biggest thing you can do. You can spend 20 minutes in the sun every day. And if you've got a yard, you should go out there and walk around with grass, walk around with barefoot, but be careful about the dog mess.
I have
So
another meeting. I'm going to have to.
yes, I know we have to go. I do too. I just got to know. Listen, thank you all very much. I appreciate you coming. Please go out and tell your friends and neighbors. We will meet again in 2 weeks. Remember Dr. Grant's uh, podcast next week, next Tuesday. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.